what are the three kinds of knowledge? Normally, what we call the knowledge of study and the knowledge of contemplation and the knowledge of meditation. And these three kinds of knowledge comes step by step. First, the knowledge of study. And after that, it comes knowledge of contemplation. And the last is the knowledge of meditation. Maybe you wonder, what is different between these three and why we have to go to these three stages. If you go to these three stages one by one, then your knowledge becomes more deep, more clear, and more profound. Because nowadays, many of us, we have first knowledge of study. We are lacking knowledge of contemplation and meditation. Meditation is very few. Only those who know meditation. So almost, if you don't know meditation, then there's no knowledge of meditation. So most people only first, and sometimes it comes to the second, the knowledge of contemplation. Okay, then what is knowledge of study? That's easy. Study. Oh, yes, reading books, receiving class, teachings, learning many different things. And that knowledge is based on word, image, and feeling, and emotions. These are mixed together. For instance, if you say, if you want to learn what? You want to learn about Tibet, about France, about Nepal, Kathmandu. Now I'm in Kathmandu, Nepal. Then Kathmandu. There's a word comes. What is Kathmandu? The image of Kathmandu comes. If you've never been to Kathmandu, then you have to study from someone, and they may tell, oh, Kathmandu is like this, a little bit dirty, but it's okay, And people are happy, friendly, but and maybe I will give you a traditional example. It's better. Okay, that's very good traditional example. What we call, if you are study about moon, in the moon, So first, you try to learn, because you never see moon before, and as you try to learn, you try to study about moon. How to do? You have to ask someone, and somebody tell you, oh, moon is like this, round color, and there's a little bit that inside. Sometimes what we call, there's tree and a monkey, shape in the moon, like shadows, and then it's like this, and all this about. Then when you think about that, there's some image come in your mind, something like white, then funny image also, and there's words say moon, and when you think that, you have some feeling also, emotion. So feeling, the image of moon, and the name, the word moon, these three mixed together, and that's the first knowledge of study. You study, but it's based on words, image, emotion, three mixed together. And then after that, the second is the knowledge of contemplation, and that is based on first knowledge which is knowledge of study, the word, image, and feeling together, and you are contemplate more, research more, and and more connected with experience, not just oral, not just image. Maybe you try to see other people's painting about moon, or maybe you just try to see a photo of moon, and many things. And also you can go inside your mind and thinking and to learn and more cultivate contemplation, concentrate more. And then this knowledge of moon become more clear, more vivid. The word less become more clear, more real, almost like. That's what we call a knowledge from contemplation. The word is very fuzzy and say blah 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 yada yada, so many things. And image also, just unclear image. But here become more with experience, not just thought, but become experience. And this is what we call, you are watching the reflection of moon. When you see reflection of moon, it's better than painting. It has same shape as real moon in the space. It has light, it has color, everything very clear. And then image also become very clear, not just fuzzy image, not the too much word, more direct experience. Then knowledge for meditation. No words, no image, but if the image without concept, almost like. So maybe we should say no concept, no word, more like really see. Or if you do like, you become like that. For example, if you learn martial art, first you have to think, what is this? Maybe not good. Yes, like that. Image. If you do again, less word, less concept, more easy, more clear, yes, more confidence. In the end, you don't have to think. You almost become like that. You and your action become one. Very clear, very vivid, direct. So martial art, if you really concentrate, if you bring really body and mind together, then become like that. Third, the knowledge of meditation, concentration, meditation, awareness, So, and that is like you're seeing moon in the space directly. Third, the three knowledge is very important.